On Kuma's side, he was trying to find any way to reach Egghead. He even infiltrated Mary Joie's, which made the celestial dragons furious. So, the soldiers blocked him, causing Kuma to be seriously injured. But he still tried to stand up. The celestial dragons saw Kuma being captured, which made them rejoice. However, Kuma was very strong. He used his devil fruit power, causing everything around him to explode, and he defeated the soldiers. Suddenly, Akainu appeared. He asked, "What are you doing here?" At this moment, the celestial dragons were very angry. So, they ordered Akainu to destroy Kuma. Akainu also realized the Marines couldn't control Kuma anymore, and Kuma would become a threat to them. So, he decided to eliminate Kuma. Akainu attacked him, causing Kuma to be injured on one side of his face. But Kuma immediately ran away. Unexpectedly, Kuma escaped, which made Akainu remember 2 years ago, when Akainu had captured Bonney. It turns out she had escaped from the world government to find Kuma. But Akainu said Kuma had become a mindless weapon, which made Bonney suffer, because Bonney believed her father would never abandon her. On Egghead Island, the Marines successfully infiltrated the island. Meanwhile, Kizaru was facing Luffy. Luffy used Gear 4 to attack Kizaru with incredible speed. However, Kizaru blocked all of Luffy's attacks. He said, "I understand why you were able to defeat Kaido." And he didn't understand why Luffy was protecting Vegapunk. But Luffy asked him, "Why do the Marines want to kill Vegapunk?" Suddenly, Kizaru flew into the sky. He told Luffy not to get involved in this matter. Then, Kizaru launched a powerful attack on Luffy, sending him crashing into the Vegaforce 01 robot. And it was destroyed. Franky and Bonney fell down. But luckily, they and Lilith were safe. However, the robot exploded, which shocked Lilith, because their plan would no longer be possible. At this moment, Kizaru stood before them. He saw Bonney. Kizaru asked why kids have been growing up so fast lately. Suddenly, Bonney attacked Kizaru, but he moved too quickly, and he kicked Bonney into the barrier, making Franky worry. So, he attacked Kizaru. However, Kizaru disappeared. Lilith realized he had gone to Vegapunk. So, they notified everyone. Finally, Vegapunk successfully cracked York's password, which made everyone happy. At this moment, Vegapunk asked Sanji and Jinbei to take his belongings to the ship. When Franky was about to report the situation, suddenly, Kizaru appeared, shocking Vegapunk and everyone else. They didn't know how Kizaru had gotten inside. He told everyone that their robot had exploded, so their plan would not succeed. Suddenly, Luffy used Gear 5 and returned, surprising everyone. Kizaru also didn't know what was happening. In an instant, Luffy appeared behind him, and he grabbed Kizaru, shocking everyone. While Luffy was very happy, Kizaru also realized the form Luffy was in. He didn't expect that when Luffy used Gear 5, the Iron Giant began to awaken. At this moment, Luffy had caught Kizaru, which shocked everyone, because Luffy had turned into a giant. Luffy said he wouldn't give Vegapunk to him. So, he kept spinning Kizaru at a very high speed, making him dizzy. Then, Luffy threw Kizaru straight into the sky, which surprised everyone, because Luffy was very strong. But Nami realized that they needed to leave quickly. Chopper saw that Robin and Stussy were still injured, which made him worry, because they couldn't move. Suddenly, Vegapunk noticed that Bonney was downstairs, while Atlas wanted to go downstairs to regain control of the Pacifista. Because if not, the Pacifista would destroy the laboratory with their laser beams. As she was about to leave, Vegapunk stopped her, because he also wanted to go with Atlas. But he was the target of the Marines. If he went downstairs, it would be very dangerous. It turns out Vegapunk was worried about Bonney. So, he informed Franky. He scolded Franky for allowing a young girl to be attacked. At this moment, Vegapunk still decided to go find Bonney. Suddenly, Sanji announced. It turns out he had overheard everything. So, Sanji decided to go find Bonney as well. After that, Vegapunk and Atlas started to move, while Franky still felt guilty, because he had allowed Bonney to be attacked by Kizaru. But Lilith comforted Franky, helping him regain his composure. So, Franky ran off to save Bonney. At this moment, the Marines were still searching for Bonney, which made her anxious. So, She transformed into a little girl and attacked them. Bonney continuously used her devil fruit power on the Marines, turning them into children and elderly people. After that, Bonney kept running, but the Marines were still in large numbers. They continued to chase Bonney, making her exhausted. Suddenly, the Marines found Sentomaru. He was seriously injured. Bonney recalled when she was kicked by Kizaru into the protective shield, causing her to fall down. Fortunately, Bonney was saved by Sentomaru. Then, he told Bonney to run away. However, Sentomaru also collapsed. At this moment, Bonney didn't know if she could escape. On Zoro's side, he was fighting with Lucci. Even though Lucci moved very fast, Zoro blocked all of his attacks. The two fought fiercely, but Zoro was still stronger. He knocked Lucci down. Meanwhile, Luffy was still enjoying himself in Gear 5. He asked Zoro if he needed help, but Zoro refused. He told Luffy to focus on Kizaru. At this moment, Zoro said to Lucci, "With your strength, don't even think about fighting our captain." However, Lucci was still very confident. Meanwhile, Kizaru was being thrown very far away. As he was about to fall into the sea, he used his devil fruit power to return, which surprised Luffy. Kizaru had created many clones, and he kept attacking Luffy. However, Luffy managed to avoid all of them. After that, he continued to grow into a giant. But Kizaru was very fast. When he tried to approach Luffy, Luffy blew Kizaru back. Unexpectedly, Kizaru continued to chase after Luffy. It turns out Luffy was just leading Kizaru's clones into a straight line, and he attacked, causing all of Kizaru's clones to disappear. But that wasn't Kizaru's real form. Suddenly, he caught Usopp, which surprised Luffy, because he had been tricked. At this moment, Kizaru asked, "Where is Vegapunk?" Suddenly, they saw Vegapunk controlling a war vehicle. Leaving, he was determined to save Bonney, because he had known Bonney since she was a child. So, Kizaru chased after them. When he attacked Vegapunk's group, Luffy absorbed Kizaru's light beam, shocking everyone. Meanwhile, Frankie had also boarded Vegapunk's vehicle. After that, they went down to the lower floor together. The Marines discovered Vegapunk. Thus, the Pacifista began targeting them. But Atlas immediately ordered the Pacifista to eliminate the Marines on the island. So, they turned and attacked the Marines. At this moment, Saturn realized it was time for him to act. Meanwhile, the Pacifista were targeting the Marines. So, they fired laser beams at the Marines, causing the Marines to panic and flee. This Vice Admiral realized that Vegapunk had overridden the commands on the Pacifista. Meanwhile, Frankie was very pleased, because the Pacifista were now on their side. But Vegapunk was still trying to rush downstairs quickly, because he was worried about Bonney. Atlas and Sanji also kept calling Bonnie's name, but they couldn't find her. So, Sanji used observation haki. Finally, he saw Bonney, which surprised everyone, because they couldn't see anything. Sanji realized there was no time left. So, he immediately ran to Bonnie's location. At this moment, the Marines were still trying to stop the Pacifista, but the Pacifista were too strong. Bonney saw that the situation had calmed down, so she felt relieved. Suddenly, Bonney was attacked. Fortunately, she managed to dodge it. It turned out it was a Vice Admiral. After that, the Marines continued attacking Bonney. So, she used her devil fruit power on her gun, and she shot the Marines, causing them to hallucinate and faint. At this moment, Bonney kept running, but she was stopped by a Pacifista. It turned out the Vice Admiral had gained control of a Pacifista, because her power allowed her to control anything she rode on. When the Pacifista was about to fire a laser at Bonney, it reminded her of her father. So, she couldn't dodge in time. Fortunately, Sanji arrived just in time, and he saved Bonney. It turns out he also knew that Bonnie's father was Kuma. However, the Vice Admirals kept attacking them. Fortunately, Vegapunk had controlled the Pacifista to save them. After that, he told Bonney and Sanji to get on the vehicle quickly. So, they left. Meanwhile, Chopper was taking care of Robin and Stussy, because Robin was still injured. When Nami told everyone to leave, suddenly, Stussy wanted to stay behind, because she still had work to do. Edison realized something, so he told everyone to leave first. Meanwhile, Saturn had stood up and was looking towards Egghead. At this moment, Zoro was still fighting with Lucci. They fought fiercely. Unexpectedly, Lucci pushed Zoro back. He kept attacking Zoro with great speed. Meanwhile, Luffy was still fighting Kizaru. He continuously avoided his attacks. At this moment, Lucci was very confident. He was sure that they would be wiped out. While Kizaru also wanted to quickly complete his mission. He fired a light beam at Luffy. But Luffy dodged it. He said, "I have my own mission too." On Saturn's side, he had started to act, causing everyone to sense a dangerous presence. At this moment, dark clouds covered the sky, which scared the Marines. Saturn had also disappeared from the room. Suddenly, he ordered the Pacifista. So, they no longer obeyed Vegapunk's orders. Atlas realized that the only one with authority over them in the system was the five elders. At this moment, Saturn teleported inside the island, which surprised the Marines. So, this vice admiral ordered the Marines to leave immediately. Vegapunk realized that one of the five elders had arrived, which made Bonney scared. At this moment, Sanji saw something appearing beneath them. It turns out Saturn had unleashed his devil fruit power, and he transformed into a monster resembling a spider, which amazed everyone. Suddenly, Kizaru snuck up on Vegapunk and shot him. Fortunately, he dodged it, causing them to fall down below. When Luffy ran to save them, Kizaru continued to block him. But Luffy used Haki and threw a powerful punch at Kizaru, which surprised Saturn, because it was the form of Nika. So, Kizaru was knocked away by Luffy. But Luffy had reached his limit. At this moment, Vegapunk's group had fallen. Fortunately, they were still safe. But everyone was shocked, because Saturn was standing in front of them, which made Bonney remember her painful past. So, she immediately charged at Saturn, and she stabbed him. That's all for today's video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Oni-chan in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Love you all.